Sheep farming is an ancient way of making money, but in this modern age, there are hardly any shepherds seen guiding their herds of sheep around. Instead of relying on fresh grass grazing to produce good quality wool and keep their sheep healthy, they choose to modernize with time. Sheep farmers these days use highly modern technology to take care of their sheep and keep everything in order. All the work that was manually done in the past is now machine operated. But how do they do it? What types of machines do they use? Don't worry, we've done all the research for you, and in today's video, we'll discuss the whole process of sheep farming. From breeding to livestock, the journey of a sheep that helps feed and clothe the majority of the population today. Sheep farming is particularly popular because sheep can be raised in many climates, which has made it a good source of livelihood. But to make a business out of it, the first most important step is reproduction. Female sheep, also known as ewes, generally reach maturity after 6 to 8 months, while male sheep, known as rams, take 4 to 6 months to reach sexual maturity. Many farmers these days choose rams to impregnate a herd of sheep at once, while others let the breeding take place naturally. But letting it happen naturally may not be a good idea because rams fight among themselves to assert dominance, and without human intervention, they can even kill each other in the process. This is the main reason why the former method of choosing one ram for a herd is very popular. But even so, the farmer can only hope that the rams had managed to do their job properly because there are very few ways to determine pregnancy in sheep, and so the farmers can only wait till the sheep start to show some sign of being pregnant. Not to say there aren't any methods. Farmers have gotten creative with their ways of determining the breeding process. Some farmers put a special harness with crayon on the rams that leaves its imprint on the ewe's fur coat, hence making it easy for the farmer to know. Whereas some avoid doing so in fear of affecting the fur coat on the sheep that's equally valuable for the market. As the lambing period approaches, the female is seen to have a sullen appearance in the hip bone area and becomes restless. Labor in sheep can last several hours. While some breeds can produce a litter of lambs, most sheep give birth to 1 or 2 lambs at once. Thereafter, the nursing period of the lamb starts, when they rely on their mother's milk to ensure good health. Almost all ewes nurse their lambs, and those who refuse do it for their own state of health. In that case, the lamb is provided with alternative feeding while the mother is taken care of. In cases where the lamb refuses to feed, a tube is attached to their stomachs to force feed them in order to save their life. It's important that the sheep drinks lots of colostrum, which is the first milk that comes from a mother's body after birth. It contains protein, fat, and antibodies that ensure the lamb's good health. Once stabilized, the lambs are now ready to take their markings, which include ear tagging, docking, castration, and vaccination. When done at a young age, the ear tagging produces little to no discomfort. The sheep that are not intended for breeding go through castration. In almost all breeds, the tails are docked because it's said to be the source of many diseases, and so it's considered important in maintaining the health of the sheep. Lastly, they're vaccinated against any possible disease that could affect them or the sheep around them. The lamb is first vaccinated after 2 to 4 weeks, and later another vaccination is provided after 3 months. Vaccination is strongly recommended by doctors to prevent any internal disease in the sheep. Likewise, they are very much affected by external parasites like maggots, sheepkeds, lice, and fleas that gather around their wool and can eventually lead to death if left untreated. One of the most common methods to prevent flea-infested death is to shave the wool near the sheep's rump or its backside. This prevents their dump from being stuck in the wool and hence successfully prevents any disease caused by it. This method is also popularly called crutching. Now, moving on to their living conditions, sheep require a stable living condition regardless of their climate. They need protection from every side, from wind and sun and possible predators. In farms these days, vast pens separate a herd of sheep from another. It gives a sense of order to the farming, where there are more sheep than one can count. A set number of sheep are placed in each pen and they feed and stay together in a flock. It's important for the farmer to check their sheep at least once a day to make sure none of the sheep have fallen ill. Sheep don't naturally show when they fall ill. Their natural instinct is made to hide their illness from the predator. So no, your sheep won't show that they're ill. You have to figure that out on your own. And once you do, it's essential to quarantine them. This is where the divider machine comes in. It's a heavy metal gate that opens from all sides that allows you to separate your flock of sheep. Farmers use this device to separate the pregnant sheep, male, female, lamb, and sick sheep from one another. This is essential because disease spreads easily from one sheep to another. Sheep hate being separated from their flock, so it's easy if ones with similar issues are kept together. Moving on to what they eat, fresh grass grazing was a reliable source of feeding sheep in the past, but not now. One cannot even imagine managing such a large number of sheep simply by grazing. There'd be no grass left. Instead, farmers use hay, corn, and supplements to feed their sheep. But imagine mixing that huge amount of hay and vitamin supplements. It sounds like an impossible task. This is where modern technology comes into play. The majority of farms, big and small, these days house a food mixing machine that mixes well all the hay and supplements. It breaks down the hay and makes it easier for sheep to eat. A feeding alley that covers the entire pen in the farm is usually where sheep eat their food. A similar alley is also made for water. This is typically how feeding takes place on the farms. Speaking of water, it's essential for the sheep to stay clean. It not only helps prevent disease and parasites, but it also helps maintain the quality of their wool. Farmers take the hygiene of their flocks very seriously, bathing them each day. As far as hygiene goes, it's especially important to foot bathe the sheep every now and then. This is where the farmer trims the overgrown hooves on the sheep's foot that makes them lazy. Now that you have a herd of healthy sheep, it's time for sheep shearing. Sheep that are not meant for slaughter are typically shorn for their wool. The shearing takes place every once in a while when the wool is overgrown and ready to be sheared. Shearing can be done by either manual blade or machine shears. Both are equally popular methods. This process usually takes place in the shearing shed, which is a facility on the farm specially designed to shear the sheep. Farmers usually hire shearers who are highly skilled and patient. After all, it's their livelihood at stake. Some countries pay the sheep shearers by the number of sheep they've sheared, not by the hour. This is why many prioritize time and precision instead of caring for the animal. The wool is then wrapped and goes into the wool bag, later to be sold at a suitable price. The sheep who are not kept for shearing suffer a different fate, though. They're gathered and shipped to the slaughterhouse where they become a source of food for the population. These days, farmers don't get too much profit from just the wool, so selling the sheep is important to make a livelihood and a profit. Not an easy job, it seems, so why should one do it? Why are the farmers investing their time and money in farming these sheep? Well, one, it's a multi-purpose business. Sheep are useful in many ways. They provide meat, milk, and wool. All three combined are quite profitable. Second is the low investment needed to start sheep farming. The farm can be built with the basics of things without too much money spent. Sheep can adjust to any environment and are easier to handle, and they also grow at a fast rate. Next, extra low labor cost. Many of the farms are family businesses, where family members are equally responsible, and even so, hiring some help doesn't cost much in comparison to other businesses. Lastly, there'll always be a demand for sheep products on the market. Sheep meat has demand for both local and export markets. As they contribute to the local and national economy, sheep are viewed as part of the animal husbandry of the agriculture department. Large-scale sheep farming provides employment in the rural section of the country. It can be done by anyone who's looking to start a business, owns the land, or is unemployed looking for a means to earn a livelihood. In short, it's easy for anyone to get into sheep farming. Once you start your business, you're approached by people who are interested in doing business with you. It doesn't require much effort to market its products, as there will always be a demand for it. When you see it that way, it doesn't seem too bad. So that was it, the whole process and making of sheep farming. Now that you've had an insider look at the topic, what are your thoughts about it? Let us know in the comments below. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this. While you're here, go ahead and click on one of the videos on the screen and enjoy.